How did Iviana get to the hotel?
To get to the which hotel and when?
You know, how did she get to the area of 25th Street in Van Buren?
Originally?
Yes. How did she get there?
Your Honor, I believe she would have to speculate or give a hearsay answer because she was not present.
Okay, well, you can answer the question if you have personal knowledge of that.
I don't have personal knowledge other than my interviews.
Go ahead.
Let me see. Did you review footage of the girls at the hotel?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Did you notice me in those videos?
I don't know that at the time I was looking for you when I was reviewing those videos. I was looking to find the girls. There was a lot of video to review. I do know that I reviewed some and I did locate some portion of video that had them in it. I don't know that I identified anybody else or looked for anybody else specifically in those videos at the time.
Do you remember what the girls were doing in the video?
I just remember seeing them in the parking lot walking. I believe I saw them walking back and forth between the two hotels.
Okay. And you didn't see them interacting with anybody in the parking lot?
Not specifically.
Did you see a video of a black man in the door of the entrance of the office?
The video that I
The
saw,
same day you seen the girls?
right. The angle of the video camera that I was able to observe them on did not show the front office, so I couldn't observe that at the time.
Okay. You didn't see a black man like pointing away from the hotel?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. How long was I under investigation before I was arrested? From the time the girls, gave you my name or identified me, the date I was arrested, what was it?
The 16th of April?
And the day that the girls were recovered?
They provided your name during an interview, I believe, on the 4th of April.
Okay, so between the 4th and the 16th, how many days was that?
However many days. What is that, 12 days?
Yeah, 12
Something
days.
like that?
So in that 12 days, what evidence other than the girl's statement that you had to prove I was sex trafficking minors?
So I also assisted in an interview with another female that had brought up...
Kimberly Dickinson?
Correct.
Who is Kimberly Dickinson?
She's another female that worked in that area, lived in that area.
You referred to her as a staple?
I would say at the time she probably was a staple in that area.
What does that mean?
She was there all the time.
All the time. So she knows everything over there, pretty much.
And as much as someone can know their neighborhood or their area.
Okay. So she would know if I would be sex trafficking minor females.
Objection, speculation.
Sustained. You can rephrase your question if you would like.
Did you do interviews with Kimberly Dickinson?
I was present during an interview that another detective in my unit was doing with her. And then the morning of your arrest, we saw her, and I did talk to her. And if you want to call it an interview, it was a fairly quick discussion on the street, but I conducted that, or I initiated that contact.
Did you show her a photo lineup with my picture on it?
I don't recall if I did or if the other detective that I was with did.
Was you present?
I was present.
during the photo lineup showing of to Kimberly Dickinson?
I know she was shown some photo lineups. Honestly, I don't recall which ones she was shown. I was present because it was related to a different investigation, but that was also happening in the area. And because I knew this one investigation was going on, I sat in on it, but I honestly don't recall, without looking at reports, which photo lineup she was shown during that time.
Is this the first time you talked to the defense during this whole entire investigation?
Talk to you?
No, the defense, a lawyer in my case, private investigator.
No.
Is this the first time?
No.
No. Okay. Do you remember doing the interview with a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't remember Kimberly Dickinson didn't pick me out in the photo lineup?
Objection, hearsay.
I'll allow the question. Go ahead.
I don't recall. If I read my report and that's what happened, then that's what happened. I really don't recall. It's possible.
But she did identify.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled. Go ahead.
She did identify who originally was sex trafficking the.
Objection, prior court rulings, Judge.
Sustained. Move on.
What probable cause did you have to arrest me for? What was the probable cause to arrest me, other than the girl's statement? What did you?
Well, statements are testimony, are evidence, and I had more than one person saying the same thing. That was the initial probable cause for arrest.
Is it common that sometimes juveniles lie? Because maybe they're just mad because you didn't, allow them to be somewhere they're not supposed to be? Could that be the case?
In general, can juveniles lie? Absolutely.
Right. But not about something as serious as child sex trafficking, right?
I would hope not.
Oh, do you know the state dropped all the sex trafficking charges pertaining to both of the young ladies?
I do that. I do
Why do you
know
think
that.
she did that?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
The two officers that you said that came to the room for me, you said there was one was your supervisor and another officer.
Oh, I think there were one or two, probably a couple of them that were up there.
So they told me, right, that I wasn't under
Objection,
arrest. It was just.
I'm sorry. Hold on.
Objection, hearsay.
I need to hear the whole question.
That's what they told me.
I need to hear the whole question.
Are you aware that I was just under arrest being detained for questioning? I wasn't, under arrest per se for sex trafficking minors.
I don't know what they told you, but as the case agent at that time, we were out there for a purpose, to look for you, to arrest you, to interview you for these charges.
I'm just saying your supervisor. I was just wondering if he was, aware of that.
I don't know what he told you. I
was
wasn't
just
up
wondering,
there.
what did I say in my interview with you?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
I was just wondering, in my interview with you, when you detain me or arrest me.
Objection, self-serving hearsay.
I have not heard the question, counsel.
What did I say in the interview that caused you to believe I was sex trafficking minors?
Objection, self-serving hearsay, Judge.
Overruled. Go ahead.
During your interview, you did not make any admissions to sex trafficking.
Right. So, also, you didn't tell me why I was in there, other than two girls said that I was their pimp. You asked me, was I a pimp, right?
Correct, which I do believe is telling you what I'm
Right.
investigating.
But you didn't tell me who the girls were, or you didn't give me any details. I didn't know who you were talking about, correct?
Objection, the defendant is testifying.
Let's rephrase the questions to make sure that you're asking specific questions about, specific questions rather than providing your own narrative.
Okay. I'll move on. And you say you've been in the vice unit for how long?
I was in that unit for about 14 and a half years. 14
and a half years. In 14 and a half years, how many cases where, it's usually like sex trafficking, right? In the human exploitation? Or
It's a bulk of the cases that we do, yes.
right. How many cases that you've been involved in, charges get dropped in the middle of trial?
That happens, depending on what's going on with the case.
Really? Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Because if some people don't show up to testify, then you can't have charges related to them if they're not here to testify about their statements.
So is that what's going on with the victim in this case?
It's my understanding.
Do you know why she's not coming to testify?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
What information do you normally use to complete your police report, or you documenting your reports and things like that?
What information do I use?
Yes, like the interviews, recorded statements. How do you document, the police report after you interview a suspect or the victim?
I'm not sure that I completely understand
Do
your
you use
statement.
your notes, or do you use?
Primarily use my notes, but then we also have the recordings. So if I don't understand something I wrote down, or if I wasn't as detailed in my notes, I can go back and listen to the recording before I write my report.
So you know exactly what they said before you document your report, correct?
I believe I do my best.
It might be a narration, but you're not going to write down something that never happened, right?
Correct.
Okay. What is it Form 4?
Form 4 is the initial form that goes when you first arrest someone. It's the initial kind of general narrative of probable cause statement to the court with the initial arrest.
Okay. So it's basically a search warrant. You document why you need this.
Yeah, it's absolutely not a search warrant. That's a very different thing. But it's just a statement when you arrest someone and they're going to go before a judge for their initial appearance. It's a statement to the judge and to the court that will also go on to the prosecuting attorneys of without the whole police report. It's a short, generalized statement of what the person is being arrested for.
Why did you falsify a search warrant to get my DNA?
I did not falsify anything.
So you didn't put it in there. Someone told me that they were pregnant by me.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure which search warrant you're speaking of because I've authored quite a few search warrants. So could you show me which search warrant you're speaking of? And then I would absolutely love to discuss that. But I don't believe I falsified any search warrants ever.
Okay, so what gave you the impression that I was the father of
Objection, prior court
Ariana's
rulings.
baby?
I'm sorry. That's sustained.
The Form 4. You put in there that Ivy told me I was her baby's daddy.
Objection, prior court rulings.
All right, we're going to take a sustained. We're going to take a short break. Folks, we're actually going to break for lunch early today. I will have you come back here at, again, at 1:15 is the new starting time. So around 1 o'clock, we'll start letting people back in if you want to come back in early. Please do remember your admonition. I will see you at 1:15.
Please back to the jury.
You may be seated. You can hang here if you want. You can also head to the back or head outside. Either one is fine with me. It's up to you. Okay. Let's hold off until. Okay. Yep. All right. I think we were very clear that we are not to go into the areas that have been previously ruled upon and precluded by, I don't even remember which judges and perhaps multiple judges when it comes to the sex history of the alleged victims. I assume that's your main concern, counsel.
Yes, and specifically there was a motion on Ivoriana's statement about the defendant being a baby daddy, and that statement specifically is also precluded because his prior counsel filed a motion to get that statement in, and it was denied.
So you are not allowed to do that. That is a prior court ruling, and it is inappropriate. I expect you to understand the contours of the prior court rulings, okay, Mr. Pennington? And make sure that your questions are within the bounds of permissible questioning. Understand?
Yes, Judge. I do ask if you can check that ruling yourself to make sure the state is correct, but I don't think the statement...
I will reread it again over the lunch period. That is my recollection of it. And again, there have been a lot of rulings here, and I will double check to make sure that that is accurate. But that is my recollection of it at this point. I will double check that. What I will say, however, is that I expect going forward to have no more issues on this particular subject. This has been litigated. If it turns out that is indeed my recollection, or if my recollection turns out to be correct and the state is correct and that those are precluded statements, then there are no soft boundaries here. There are very hard boundaries about those things, and we just cannot get into them. You understand that?
Yes, Judge.
This is also an area where I believe it's of great importance. And if we continue to have this issue, that is a basis for me to have Mr. Molina step in as your counsel. I don't want to get to that. I know that is the last thing I want to do, but if it's ongoing, then that is something I will strongly consider. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else we can address before we go to lunch?
Not from my perspective, thank you.
No, Judge.
All right. I will review that ruling again. I know there were a number of those rulings. I will read all of them related to this particular topic to make sure that there's nothing that I'm missing here. We'll meet before we bring the jury in just to reconvene on this particular issue, and then we'll move forward for the afternoon. In terms of progress here today, are we still basically on track as expected? In other words,
I just have one witness left after Ms. Decoufle. I don't know how long he has left on cross, and my other witness will be fairly brief because there's a chance we may need to recall her at the end.
okay. I'm just trying to figure out whether or not we're going to need to address the question we talked about earlier, which is to take one of your witnesses today or not. So keep that in mind. Think about how much more you have to do, and let's talk about both of those things after lunch, okay?
Okay.
All right. Have a good lunch, everyone.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. You may be seated. We are back on the record in CR 2021-001294-001, State of Arizona versus Jamaal Pennington. Court notes the presence of counsel, except Ms. Sorensen, is
She
she?
just stepped out for just a second. She'll be right back.
Okay. And of Mr. Pennington. A couple things to address. I want to address the discussion we had at the end of the morning session. But first, I received a question from a juror. I'm going to read it. We can figure out what to do about it. Question, can Judge Minder clarify charge number 9? Mr. Pennington has mentioned several times that all sex trafficking charges have been dropped. Is charge number 9 child sex trafficking?
I was actually going to, we have instructed the jury not to consider why they are not to speculate about why charges are dropped. So I was going to ask that you direct Mr. Pennington not to keep asking that question of every single witness.
But that's a different question. The question here is whether charge 9 is still child sex trafficking.
Yes, it is, based on the indictment.
I understand the answer to that, but the question is, what do we do with the question? Because there seems to be some confusion. I know we had Nikki read the charges again yesterday. I'm happy to do that again today, or maybe just read the titles, just so that because I don't know that we need to go through the specific allegations once again, but I do think that there's confusion about that particular issue, and so I was going to suggest we do that unless there's any objection.
I have no objection, Judge.
Just clarifying the charge.
Yes.
Read the indictment, charge 9, right?
I was going to suggest just the titles because at the top, rather than going through all the specific details about what the state alleges.
Correct, yeah.
But if you think it's more appropriate to read the entire charge for charge 9, I'm happy to do that as well. The question is just whether charge 9 is child sex trafficking or not. I understand either way. I'm happy to do either one. I don't want to create any confusions or anything else.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just reading the title?
Yes.
Okay. So when we come back, Nikki will read the title. I'm just going to read 6 through 9, just so that there's no confusion whatsoever, so everybody knows what's still available. I'm not going to read, I should say. I'm going to ask Nikki to read just the title 6 through 9. And again, those are just the items that appear on the first page. Everyone's comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. So we will do that when the jury comes back. The other one is the question of comments, questions related to, I believe the specific question had to do with the fatherhood of one of the victims. But while there is a very explicit ruling for precluding that information, there's also a much broader ruling prohibiting discussion of all sexual activity beyond the scope of this of these particular charges with regard to any of the victims. So you can't get into those areas, okay?
Okay.
And again, I will warn you that if you do, we may have to have some changes here, okay?
Okay.
I don't want to do that. I want to be very clear about that. I don't want to have to do that. But those rulings were done for a reason. I do expect you to understand what those rulings are in the scope of what has been precluded. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Is there anything else we needed to address?
Yes, my witness won't be here today till Monday.
Okay. So there we go. We will take everything in order. We will just likely or perhaps have a break today depending on how this afternoon goes with the witnesses that we do have. I do need you to just remember that we have limited time next week and we need to be efficient with our time if we can. Okay? Anything else before we bring the jury in?
Your Honor, I just would again ask that we refrain from referencing any dropped charges from the original charges over and over again in front of the jury. I do believe it's causing confusion. It's clearly causing confusion. We have told the jury that they will not get to find out why those charges are gone and they're not to speculate about it. Every time Mr. Pennington says the state has dropped those charges, he is giving them something to believe that happened with those charges, which I believe is improper based on the instruction that is the standard Rashi instruction.
I will remind the jury again during the final instructions that they are not to speculate as to why. And I do think it's improper to go into the reasons why. I'm not going to prohibit you from saying that they have been dropped. That is certainly a fact that everybody is aware of. But we're not to talk about the reasons for that because all of that is speculative at this point, okay?
Okay.
All right. Let's bring the jury in.
Please rise for the jury.
Excuse me.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me, my voice is a little scratchy again. Welcome back from lunch. We're back here in CR 2021-001294-001, State of Arizona versus Jamaal Pennington. Court notes the presence of counsel of Mr. Pennington. We have our jury back as well, and I don't know if it's still appropriate to call you Detective Decoufle or just Ms. Decoufle.
I'm not really sure.
Okay. Well, Ms. Decoufle is on the witness stand as well. Before we resume with her cross-examination, I did receive a question from the jury beforehand asking to clarify the counts that are remaining. And I know we kind of discussed those again yesterday. I understand that there have been references today to what counts remain. I'm going to ask Nikki just once again to read the names of the counts. We're not going to go through all of the specific allegations on the specific days again. You've heard that a couple of times, but just to list the counts as they appear in the indictment, 6 through 9, that are still remaining.
Count 6, sexual conduct with a minor. Count 7, molestation of a child. Count 8, molestation of a child. And count 9, child sex trafficking.
All right. Mr. Pennington, are you ready to resume with your cross-examination?
Yes.
All right. You may begin. Or you may resume, I should say.
May I get a exhibit?
Yes.
May I approach the stage to show them the exhibit?
You may.
This is Exhibit 75, photo lineup of me. I'm in this photo lineup. May I?
Objection.
You may. You're asking to show her the exhibit
Yes.
by bringing it up here?
Yes.
That would be fine.
Thank you.
What is this document?
It looks like a photo lineup.
How is this document generated?
This particular one, this isn't one that I showed. I just know because I do things differently on it. But I think I created this document. So usually we have a system that we pick a photo out of, like driver's license photos or whatever, a photo that we have, and then it helps populate other photos and that are similar, and that's how we create them.
Do you remember the date that, was you there?
I don't know which I showed this photo lineup a few times throughout the investigation, so I guess I would need reference to like which report this came from.
Okay.
On like which interview, which time, who it was to. It's hard for me to.
Exhibit 76.
You may. Just to be clear, for the record, are you asking the witness to review 76 because you anticipate entering it as evidence or because you want to refresh her recollection?
Refresh your recollection.
All right. So you can review the document, but please turn it over when you're ready and have refreshed your recollection.
May I ask a question about it? May I ask who's the author of this? Because it doesn't. This is just one page of an entire report, and only the first page of the report shows who the author is. I don't know if I'm allowed to see.
Do we have a larger
There's
version?
a full copy of the reports in Exhibit 1. If you want to provide that to her so she can see the full report.
I can review it.
Are you okay with that, Mr. Pennington?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Molina, if you want to. Yeah.
It should be Exhibit 1.
Right. So who's the? Okay. The author is
You just-
Okay. So, can I ask another? I'm a little confused.
Do you just want to start the questions over? Would that help?
Sure.
Why don't you start over since we've had a little bit of a break here? It's
Okay.
not clear what the pending question is.
well, I asked, are you familiar with the document I just showed you, the photo lineup?
I am not. So this is I'm a little bit confused. This one page is part of a report that was written by Detective Campbell, reference when she was doing some interviews and her investigation related to stacks. But the date of this report is different than the date of this photo lineup. So I'm not really sure this photo lineup, who presented this and when, because this date is November of 2018 and this report is April of 2018. So I'm not really sure who this was presented to, because you can't read the signature. I don't know who this was presented to or by. And I didn't, this is a report that was related to stacks that Detective Campbell was doing. So I don't know that I've actually ever even read this report before.
Right. Okay. So you said that was November of 2018?
This it's dated November of 2018. It looks like it is.
The person
to me.
who signed it?
It looks like it looks at least that's what it looks like to me. I could be.
I think it's a
Maybe it's a 4 instead of an 11. It looks like an 11. I can't tell who's. I don't know this signature, and I don't know.
Okay.
I write when I do mine. I write my own information on here as well to show that I did that one. So I don't believe I presented this photo lineup.
Was you the case agent?
Not in the case related to stacks. I was the case agent related to you. This is an investigation related to stacks.
Right. But why am I in that photo lineup then?
I don't know. I guess I didn't create this one
Okay.
because I don't recall having a photo lineup with stacks in it. But I don't know.
So you mentioned that you were present when Kimberly Dickinson couldn't identify me, correct?
I was present during the initial interview that Detective Campbell did with Ms. Dickinson. I was present during that initial interview.
Okay. And it was your case to investigate me, right?
My case, yes.
Right. So did Kimberly Dickinson identify me?
Objection.
As
Sustained. Next question.
And you described Ms. Dickinson as a staple on 24th Street, correct?
I mean, I probably have said that at some point. I know that she was out there a lot.
Someone who has knowledge on, what was going on in the area?
I would say she did.
Okay. Now this photo lineup is something Phoenix PD uses to try to identify suspects many times, correct?
I'm sorry, I don't know if I understand the
The photo lineup I just showed you, the Phoenix Police Department use it to.
I don't know if this is the same. I don't know if this is the same photo lineup that I created for my investigation. This photo lineup is related to Detective Campbell's case. If you want to show, I don't know if I could see a photo lineup from my investigation.
You never had any firsthand knowledge of Kimberly Dickinson confirming that I was.
Objection. Hearsay.
Mr. Pennington, that question is inappropriate under the hearsay rules. If you have a reason why,
I do,
or an exception to that to those rules, then I need to hear what it is.
Well, I have a right to find out if a person is lying to me, Judge, or lying under oath.
Okay, objection is sustained. If you have other bases for that, then go ahead. But from what I've heard, I don't hear a hearsay exception.
Okay. But you do see that I am in that picture. Is that a correct?
You are in this photo lineup, yes. I just don't know if I created this or not.
Right. But it's your case, correct?
This is not the case that this photo lineup was signed in. Is Detective Campbell's case. If you want to show me one of the photo lineups from this case, I can compare them. It's been 5 years. I don't recall who else was on a photo lineup other than you that I created.
Right.
So I don't have an independent memory of that. I'm more than happy to review and see.
Okay, well, let me ask you, did anybody other than the two young ladies, confirm that I was sex trafficking minors?
Objection. Hearsay.
Sustained.
Well, the reason I asked this because you told the
go on
grand
the
jury
microphones?
that.
I'm sorry.
Can we go on the headphones, Judge?
We'll take a short bench conference here, folks. Just give us a moment. Mr. Pennington, we're going to jump on the headsets here. Is that better? All right. Ms. Jenkins?
Your Honor, I would just wanted to go on the bench conference if he was going to explain something that was not a hearsay exception. So we already got out some testimony from him in front of the jury. So I think we need it if he wants to explain what his hearsay exception is, if that's what he's going to do.
Okay. Mr. Pennington?
Well, you can't hear me.
If you can move it just a little bit closer to your mouth, sometimes that helps.
Can you hear me? Just rephrasing the question so I can get around the hearsay exception.
Well, just to be clear, hearsay, we talked the other day about what hearsay is in general. If you have an exception, that means that it would be permissible. There are a number of exceptions. There are a number of categories of things that are not hearsay. So if you have an exception or what you're asking falls into one of those categories, then I'm happy to hear, but you need to give an explanation, because otherwise what you're asking, as far as I can tell, are questions about what other people said out of court because you're interested in the truth of those statements. If you're asking them for a different reason, then I need to hear that. Can you hold it a little bit closer?
Can you hear me now? Yeah, it's a supplement. She but it's the same. It's regarding the same victims. So it's just a supplement. It's my case. That's why I got the
So I want to be clear here. If you can you still hear me okay? Okay. If you are asking these questions for a purpose that is something other than proving the truth of those statements, then they are not hearsay. So if you have something along those lines, then you need to be very clear with me what those purposes are.
yeah. The purpose of it is for impeachment. Because I have proof that she she is aware that Kimberly Dickinson confirmed I was a suspect sex trafficking Adriana and Anaya Horton. She lied during the grand jury indictment.
I don't understand what statement of the witness are you trying to impeach?
The statement is that she doesn't have anything to do with showing Kimberly Dickinson a photo line or any image of Kimberly Dickinson identifying as a guy over there sex trafficking minors. But in her grand jury indictment, she testified in 2018. She told the grand jury that a streetwalker confirmed that the suspect of Anaya Walker and Adriana Horton. So, that there was no, you know,
If you have testimony, then you can use that testimony to impeach. So I guess I'm still confused as to why your specific questions are trying to get or are being used for the purposes of impeachment.
okay. Just
I don't.
the photo lineup.
Okay, but the questions you're asking regarding what was said are not related to the identification issues.
To rephrase questions.
Okay, if you want to rephrase your questions, you can
Can I be heard on that when it comes to identification, Judge?
very quickly.
I understand that a statement meets the following conditions is not hearsay. A declarant witness prior statement when it identifies a person as someone the declarant perceived earlier. However, the declarant testifies and is subject to cross-examination about a prior statement and the statement. The declarant of that statement is not currently testifying and is not subject to cross-examination, so it's still hearsay because it's not a valid hearsay exception. I understand that prior identifications can be non-hearsay when the declarant is present in court and testifying.
So you said so it's not.
Try again.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear
I can hear you perfectly, and I can hear you perfectly. I wonder if there's something
Yeah,
you said.
I can hear him clearly as well.
Yeah, maybe if we tried something else. Okay. Folks, we do not have another headset that swap in and out. We do. Okay. So we have one over there, though.
We gave him hers to see if that's fine.
Hello?
Yeah, I thought I can hear you now.
I thought we were going to use Ms. Sorensen.
Yeah, we did. We gave Miss Sorensen's to him.
Oh, but we need one for up here.
Oh. Oh, is it her headset? I'm sorry.
I think it was her headset.
I'm connected through the courtroom, so.
Okay,
it
so
cuts
maybe
out. I'm not getting
that's what.
anything.
Okay, so we can give. I'm sorry, I misunderstood, Judge. So we can give. So the Mr. Pennington's headset was working okay. It's your.
It's me.
So we need to give you her headset that we just gave Mr. Pennington. I'm so sorry.
I can hear now. I don't know if it's the white noise. Maybe that's what's causing the.
Sorry.
Unhappy headset. So I'm gonna take the one and I'm gonna give it to the court reporter. And then we'll just use yours. I'm gonna try to see if I can talk with them. It's, you can just, if you wanna talk, you have to press the microphone button.
All right. Okay. I think that was probably the issue. All right. I believe you were speaking, Mr. Pennington.
Yes.
But the objections are to your questions about what people said.
Right, right.
Do you understand the parameters now?
Yes.
Okay. Are we ready to go back on the record?
Yes.
Okay. Maria? All right. Pennington, whenever you're ready to resume.
Do you remember testifying as a witness in 721st grand jury indictment in 2018?
I mean, I know I did it. I haven't read it.
Okay.
I haven't reviewed it, but I do recall.
Exhibit.
Oh, I know I did. I did the. That's my name, but I recall doing it in the grand jury. Am I looking for where it has my name? Oh, there we go. Okay.
At the close of your testimony, a jury member asked you a question about me. Was I identified or confirmed to be at the hotel? Do you remember your answer?
I don't remember the question or the answer. I'm more than happy to review and discuss it.
Okay. You can start at
Line 19?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oops, excuse me. Okay.
Who is the woman or what you refer to as a street worker? Who is that I confirmed that your allegations were true about me?
Objection, hearsay.
Do you have any basis, any exception, or any reason that that's not hearsay?
I'm just trying to, identify, see if she identifies me. Well, like I said, she confirmed that.
Objection.
Okay. Sustained. Next question.
You told the state that you said Aaliyah, my son's mother, Aaliyah Barganier, requested to speak to the state.
She asked me if that was what happened, and I was told that she was ready to speak with us, and so I went over and interviewed her. Yes.
The state told you that.
Correct.
So, but you said that my son's mother came to the state first, that she requested to do a free talk, that she had information about me.
I don't know that I said that. I agreed that she was wanting to talk. The way a free talk works is the attorneys talk to each other and make a decision between the attorneys and whoever is willing to talk. And if she didn't want to talk, she wouldn't have talked to me, so we would have made the arrangement to do the free talk. So once that agreement is made between them, then I'm contacted to come and actually do the interview. So I'm not actually part of that. So.
Well, I was just trying to confirm,
But I would say she was ready. She wanted to talk. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come in to talk with me.
Because she was asked to talk about her.
I don't know. I wasn't part of any of that.
You didn't do the interview?
I did the interview, but I wasn't part of asking or the agreements. That happens between attorneys and between the person that is talking. I just am asked to come in and do the interview. I'm not part of that conversation or those.
So why did you
agreements.
assume that she requested the free talk?
I'm not assuming she requested it. I'm assuming she wanted to do it.
I mean, that's what you just said to the state's leading question.
She said if she wanted, did she want to talk? And I said yes.
Okay. Did I ask you the standard procedure how the 404 is drafted?
The standard procedure of how Form 4 is drafted?
Yes.
I don't know if you asked me that. You asked me about what a Form 4 was.
Right, right. So how is it drafted, and what's the purpose of it again?
The purpose is it goes along with the paperwork, with the booking paperwork, when someone is booked into jail, to give an overview of probable cause, the initial probable cause for the initial arrest for the judge, and that then goes on to the prosecutor.
So, why did you falsify the search warrant to get my DNA?
Don't know which search warrant you're speaking of. I didn't falsify anything. We were just discussing a Form 4 and not a search warrant, so I'm really confused. But if you could ask me specifically what you think I falsified, I would love to talk to you about that, but I don't believe that I falsified anything, ever.
Did you author the Form 4?
I authored the Form 4, yes.
Okay. I'll show you the exhibit, Form 4.
Okay.
Exhibit 71.
Thank you. Is there a particular part of it that you want, or do you just read
I
the
was
whole
just
thing?
wondering why you needed my DNA. What was the purpose you needed my DNA?
Objection, Judge, prior court rulings.
It has nothing. I'm not asking about
Just a moment here.
anybody else.
Give me just a moment here. Which specific court ruling?
Judge, I believe this is about what we were speaking about just before lunch and then right after we got back.
Because of the answer
The
itself.
answer to that question is...
All right. We're going to take a 10-minute break here. Folks, thank you for your patience. We'll have you come back here at about 2:15. May be seated. I don't know what the answer is going to be, and so therefore I can't really project as to whether the answer is going to be something that is for which the question was intended to elicit improper testimony. What are you expecting to get out of that question, Mr. Pennington?
What was the whole purpose of getting my DNA? I mean, that's...
I guess the issue here is if this is, DNA samples are offered or collected for many purposes. I don't know what that is going to be here, and I suspect that without hearing the answer, I don't know whether that would violate the prior court rulings. Any suggestions, counsel?
Your Honor, I don't want to put words in the detective's mouth, but my understanding what the issues with the search warrant.
I understand what you're about to say, so we don't need to say it. But what I'm suggesting is, do you have a suggestion for figuring out whether or not, for example, asking the question here?
We can voir dire the witness without the jury present to see what her answer will be, if that's appropriate.
I'm asking if you have any suggestions, and it sounds like that's one of yours.
I don't have an objection to voir diring the witness prior to the jury coming back in.
All right.
She's questioned her outside of the presence of the jury to ensure, I guess, that it won't violate the court order. So you'd be given a little more latitude without the jury.
So the question, Mr. Pennington, is are you okay with asking this question and perhaps some follow-up questions regarding it outside of the presence of the jury so that I can hear what the answers might be and therefore decide whether or not the question can be asked in front of the jury that in a way that doesn't violate the previous court rulings? Are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we do that now? Is everybody comfortable with doing that now?
That's fine with me.
All right, Mr. Pennington, why don't you re-ask your question?
What was the whole purpose of getting my DNA?
So, I'm really kind of confused because you provided me a Form 4,
Right.
and you're asking me to review a Form 4, which is not a search warrant. It has nothing to do with your DNA. It's a probable cause statement to the judge. I'm assuming you're discussing the search warrant that was actually authored about getting your DNA.
Right.
Which, if I recall, and you can show it to me because it's been a long time, but I don't recall that I authored that search warrant. I believe it was Detective Brooks once he took over the case, and I don't think that I ever authored a search warrant to get your DNA. Not that I'm recalling. So I can review it, and if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. It's been a while. But that is to my memory that I did not author a search warrant to get your DNA, so I can't give that proper answer.
Exhibit 74.
Yes.
I'm gonna close the door back here just so that none of this is being heard. Oh, thank you, Nikki.
So this was authorized by Detective Brooks, so it
Okay.
would be a question for Detective Brooks.
Okay.
I don't really want to speak to his search warrant.
Okay. That's fair.
All right. Do you need to ask any further questions on that particular topic?
Not the search warrant for the DNA. The Form 4.
Okay, and that's fine because that's not something that is subject to the. Well, I mean, I don't know what additional questions you might have, but right now the question about the DNA was what caused me to ask for this. So when we come back, I will sustain the state's objection to that question. You can proceed with your cross-examination regarding whatever other topics you wish to get into. We've got about 5 minutes left in our break, so we're going to go ahead and take that now, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have the exhibit back?
Which one?
The last one.
The search warrant? Absolutely.
What else one? Is those?
This is a.
We are back on the record in CR 2021-001294-001. Court notes the presence of counsel. Mr. Pennington is here. The jury is not yet here. The witness is in the witness stand. Counsel, is there something you wanted to raise?
Just that I just want to make sure it's very clear that in the Form 4 there is a statement about the defendant potentially being the father of Ivoriana Horton's child.
Okay.
And I want it very clear that we're not going into that.
I think that's very clear from the rulings that is not an issue. I don't know if it's 75. You said, not 75. That's the lineup. I don't know what the Form 4 number is, but
I believe it's.
If it is to be offered as an exhibit, it will need to be redacted in some way, shape, or form. You would agree with that?
I would object to admitting that, and I can put that on the record if it's attempted to be admitted. But
it hasn't been offered yet.
No, I know. That's why.
Just
if it's
to be
offered
clear.
for admission, I would object, but we can get there.
All right. Mr. Pennington, at least one juror has informed my staff that they sometimes have to really kind of lean in to hear you. So if you just kind of keep that in mind, I realize the situation is strange and you're not really thinking about projecting your voice, but if you can stay awfully close to that microphone and speak into the microphone, that might help a little bit. Okay. there anything else we need to address before we resume?
Not from my perspective, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
All right, let's bring the jury in.
Please rise for the jury.
Thank you. You may be seated. We are back on the record in CR 2021-001294-001, State of Arizona versus Jamaal Pennington. According to the presence of counsel, Mr. Pennington is here. Our jury is back with us after our break. I want to make sure that all of you, our jury, understands that if there's anything that you can't hear, you can't see, that you aren't able to somehow absorb, that you're supposed to absorb, let me know immediately. Raise your hand, however, wave something. Anything is fine. Just, not throwing things or whatever, but just do let me know. It's vitally important that you hear everything that you're supposed to hear, that you see everything you're supposed to see. So I want to make sure that happens. And I did remind everyone here to make sure that we're keeping that in mind as we go forward. Before we left, there was a question by Mr. Pennington and an objection by the state, and we had a discussion about that while you were gone, and I am sustaining the objection at this point. Mr. Pennington, are you ready to resume your cross-examination?
Yes.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Who is Shauna Parker?
Shauna Parker is a victim advocate that works a lot with trafficking victims.
She's a victim advocate. Who is Sarah Way?
Sarah Way is also a victim advocate. She used to be she was employed by the city as a victim advocate and attached to our unit. Shauna Parker was employed by someone else, a behavioral health place or something like that.
So Sarah Way was the original victim advocate, and then Shauna took over?
Well, they're two separate entities. Just like the county attorneys have victim advocates that help with victims of cases that are also, the city might also have a victim advocate for the same case. The city has a victim advocate, and so Shauna is employed by an outside agency, not with the city, and Sarah was employed by the city. So they both, it's not that necessarily one necessarily takes over. They can both work at the same time. One may have taken over because I know that Sarah at some point, just as I moved on, she also moved on. So in that sense, she may have taken over, but it's not because there's a handoff. Both can work in conjunction.
Okay. So do you know why Sarah left and Ms. Parker came on the case? Because Sarah Way is what? She's contracted through the Phoenix Police Department, or
she was at that time. She moved on to work in a completely different unit.
Okay.
She was no longer working with our unit. Just a career change for herself, as I did into background investigations. People move around.
Okay. And so is it normal to not hire somebody in from the city and just hire somebody outside the city too?
Well, I don't know that anybody's hired necessarily specifically for that. I don't know because I had left the unit as well. So I don't know when Sarah left the unit if they replaced her or not due to budget. So there just may not have been an advocate with the city anymore. I don't really know. But like I said, they work in conjunction. It's just as like in this case, there's also victim advocates from the county that also help work in conjunction. When we have federal cases, there's a federal victim advocate. They all work together. It's not that there's one or the other.
Sarah Way, she's trained not to meddle into ongoing investigations, correct?
Well, I think all the advocates are trained appropriately. I don't know her training. I don't know her CV or her resume, but I would assume I worked with her for many years, and she was very good at her job.
Sarah Way?
Yes.
Shauna Parker she knows the same thing too, right?
Yes, I've worked with Shauna for many years as well, and I believe she's very good at her job as well.
Do you know who assigned Sarah Way to this case?
At the time, she was the victim advocate for our entire unit. So any case that our entire vice unit did, she was the victim advocate assigned to it because she was our victim advocate assigned to our unit.
How did Shauna Parker know about my jail phone call?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
You are aware that Shauna Parker was, talking about an ongoing investigation with the young ladies in this case?
No. Talking about an ongoing investigation, I don't know that I would.
Right, like a gateway between the two to help them.
No, I don't believe that occurred.
Acting like a detective, you don't remember that?
Can you give me some specifics? I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Shauna said in her defense interview.
Objection, hearsay.
I think you need to be asking a question, Mr. Pennington.
Okay. Didn't you tell my previous counsel that Shauna shouldn't be meddling into an ongoing investigation?
Yes, all victim advocates don't. I guess it depends on what the word meddling means, but that's not their job.
What it means
to be
to
part
you?
of the investigation.
What it means to you?
To be part of an investigation, and that's not their job as an advocate. They're there to advocate for their health and their safety and their well-being and their mental health and all of those things.
Did you investigate why she was?
I asked some follow-up questions of some accusations related to that, and it was unfounded.
When you did that interview with Shauna Parker and asked her how the girls were saying that someone tried to contact them?
I think you need to rephrase your question, Mr. Pennington.
Do you remember interviewing Shauna Parker?
I do.
What did she inform you about that, her communicating with the young ladies?
Objection, hearsay.
Mr. Pennington, is there a non-hearsay basis for the answer for the question or an exception?
I don't know.
I'm going to sustain the objection then.
Okay. What is, excuse me, let me grab. This is Exhibit 73. May I?
You may.
Number 3B4 is highlighted. What's the standard procedure for interviews and interrogation?
Document everything that is said by each victim or witness in an incident report.
Have you ever had any off-the-record conversation about this case?
Not that I recall.
Not that you recall? Okay. Exhibit 66. Ma'am,
You may.
can you can you please explain to the jury what that is?
These are messages between myself and Ms. Dickinson.
What kind of messages? Like, I mean, how are you guys communicating?
I communicate with pretty much all of my victims through Facebook.
Okay. So, what do y'all talk about?
Usually,
Objection hearsay?
I'm sorry.
Are you withdrawing the question?
Yes. Are you talking about an ongoing investigation in your Facebook messages with Kimberly Dickinson?
Objection hearsay.
Overruled.
No, I talk to the victims and Kimberly and everyone else about. I just keep in touch with them as the case goes on. Where are they at? How are they doing? Do they have a job? Are they in counseling? Are they? It's those types of conversations to just kind of be in the loop and stay in contact with them. And the only conversations I may have with them about a case is if there is an update related to like court, like, hey, you've got court coming up, or this case is going to court, you can show up, or you don't have to, or something like that. But I don't talk about the details of the case without like doing an interview. My contact with them, and the reason I use Facebook is most people's phones change constantly, but that's a constant. It's an easy way to be in contact with people.
So you never talked about the case off the record and not added to your police reports or supplements?
Specifics about the case?
Yes.
I don't believe so. I talk about court and their well-being, things like that. I may talk about a court date or what's going on with the case in the sense of appointments, but not like details of the case. Like, did you talk to this person? Did you see this person? Did you, identify this person? It's not details of the case, no.
Okay. May I have that back, please?
Sure.
Do you remember this conversation?
Yes?
What is it about?
Objection hearsay.
I don't know what the answer is going to be. If you want to give you're just asking a general topic. Is
Yes.
that fair? You may
Yes.
answer. Go ahead.
She had reached out to me stating some investigators from the defense had come to talk to her, and she didn't know what to do. And I told her it was her choice. She could tell them she didn't want to talk to them, or that she could talk to them. That was the gist of the conversation.
So, set of investigators, who?
Defense investigators from your team.
Oh, so it's about this case.
It's about the fact that investigators showed up at her door and she was unsure of what to do about that. Not specifics of the case, and that it's a part of, as you know, defensive interviews, interviewing of witnesses and other victims and those types of things is part of court process. That was part of the court process, and I told her it was her right to participate or to not participate.
Right. Those are investigators for the traffickers. Is that what you said?
Hearsay.
Is that about?
Why don't you rephrase your question? It's unclear to me what you're asking, sir.
Oh, well, she says she's not.
I'm just asking you to rephrase your question.
Are you talking about the case in that conversation?
Absolutely not. I'm talking about the investigators from the defense team that showed up at her door. She reached out to me and asked me what she should do about that, if she was allowed to talk to them or should talk to them.
Who were you referring to when you said the traffickers?
Objection.
I don't remember that.
Hearsay.
Overruled.
I don't say anything about traffickers.
No?
I don't say traffickers. Oh, here, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. I missed this line. Yes.
What did it say?
I am
Objection.
talking.
Hearsay.
Again, Mr. Pennington, you have to have either a reason why that question is not asking for hearsay because it's not hearsay, or a reason that that question is asking for a response that falls within a hearsay exception. Do you need a moment to think about that?
Well, I'm entitled to.
Do you need to speak with Mr. Molina for a moment?
I will.
You may do that.
This is Exhibit 69.
Are you with?
I'm going to rephrase the question, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
Is this the same as that one here that I just gave you? Page for page.
Well, that might take some time. Page for page, or just this page with this conversation? Because it's going to take some time to go through page for page. I'm more than happy to do.
Okay. Let me see it, please. Let me get to the page where you at.
So is this conversation the same?
Base down 3784.
Yes, that's what this says here.
Just to be clear, I know you're taking one of the exhibits away. Which one do you have in your hand, Mr.
I
Pennington?
have Exhibit 69.
Okay. And then which one do
I
you
have Exhibit 66.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so you said that she wasn't willing to talk to the investigators.
I didn't say she wasn't willing. She didn't understand what was going on. They showed up, and she wasn't sure who. She was unclear what was going on, so she reached out to me to ask.
Okay. Did she tell you that she didn't want to talk to them?
Objection, hearsay.
Or when she?
Are you rephrasing?
Yes.
Go ahead.
You had first said that when she first reached out to you, that right, she didn't know who they were. It was a set of investigators, and that she didn't want to, she didn't want to be bothered with them, or, they made her uncomfortable, and she didn't want to talk to them.
I don't think I ever stated she said she didn't want to talk to them.
No?
She didn't understand what was going on and who they were. She was uncomfortable. She didn't know who they were. I never said she didn't want to talk to them. And I responded to her who they were, and I told her what her rights were.
They are shady like the traffickers.
Objection, hearsay. And also not a question.
You'll have to ask a question, but if that is a question, that is hearsay, and I will sustain the objection.
And could you strike that from the record, Judge?
It will be stricken from the record. Folks, you're not to consider that statement.
Did you, your first statement to Kimberly, did you tell her that those are investigators for the traffickers?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I didn't say the word traffickers, but I said she asked me who they were, and I said, yes, those are investigators for the pimps.
For the pimps.
Correct.
Who are you referring to?
The people that showed up to her door that work for your defense team.
The pimps. So you knew that I was a pimp, and who else is the pimp?
I charged you as well as someone else in a case for pimping.
Jamaal Pennington.
Yes.
Okay. Have I been convicted of child sex trafficking?
No, that's why we're here. No.
So why are you calling me a pimp? And I'm innocent until proven guilty?
That is the court of law, yes.
Okay. So why are you tampering with a witness?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Why do you tell Kimberly Dickinson, tell them your truth?
Objection.
What is it?
Hearsay. And the state requests you strike that statement from the record.
Mr. Pennington, any non-hearsay reason for that question or any hearsay exception?
One moment, Judge. So I'm just
Are you rephrasing? Are you rephrasing?
well, you asked me what's my
Non-hearsay basis or your hearsay exception?
well, I was just going to say maybe my question. I don't know how to rephrase it other than the way I phrase it, but her answer is not. I'm not asking her, you know, to get the truth or see if she lying. I'm just asking her, you know, what does she think that mean? What, you know, what is your truth? So it's just her testimony. It's not an out of court statement.
Counsel.
Judge, he is purposely putting this statement into the question in order to get that statement in front of the jury. If he can ask the question without the statement in it, I would not have a hearsay objection. But he has the statement in the question.
All right. You can rephrase without using the specific statement.
So you've been in law enforcement for a long time, correct?
Correct.
And you guys are trained to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, correct? So anything outside of that wouldn't be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, correct?
Unless it's a misperception, but yes. It depends on it depends on what it is, but yes.
Well, I'm just saying you said what you said, and then it's not the truth. Just tell the truth.
Objection.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're referring to, Mr. Pennington.
I'm referring to her
Are you referring to a statement within that exhibit?
telling.
Is that what you're referring to? Or are you referring to her answer just now?
Just her answer.
Okay. Overruled. Go ahead.
Yeah, you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. People make mistakes. Doesn't mean that you're lying. I don't know what you're referencing. So if there's something that I made a mistake on, it doesn't necessarily mean it was devious or purposeful. I don't know. I don't know what you're referencing.
Well, I mean,
yes, I believe in tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
right, not your truth.
I don't know what you mean by your truth. I tell my victims often, tell your truth. Not what you're hearing from other people, not what other people think. If you're a victim or a witness in a case, you know what happened to you, you know what you saw, you know what you did, you know whatever, and I always tell them to tell their truth. If you're referencing something like that, that is a statement that I say often to many people. Tell your truth. Don't listen. Your truth, your story, what you know happened to you or you were part of, doesn't come from other people. It comes from you and what you know, and you go in and tell your truth. That is something I say often and to many victims and witnesses.
So, I mean, what is her truth? Is her truth saying that
Objection.
I'm a pimp?
Speculation.
I think she opened the door, Judge.
I don't believe so. I think you need to ask questions for which she has a legitimate reason to know.
You had mentioned in the beginning that that I believe she came to you. I think that was the words. She came to you, or
Ms. Dickinson?
yes, with this conversation.
She had, Ms. Dickinson originally asked to speak to a detective, which Detective Campbell did her case with.
No, I'm talking about this specific Facebook conversation.
Oh, yes. You can see on the date and the time, she reached out to me and said, hey, these people showed up. Who are they? They used your name, and she's trying to find out and what's going on.
Right.
She reached out to me on that, yes.
So we're just normal guys at first, right?
Who's normal guys?
We're just a lawyer, private investigator, just investigating the case. So, I mean, how did they become anything other than that?
They are who they are. Just like I was a detective representing the city, the investigators that showed up at the door were investigators that represented the defense.
Okay, so you you call them shady like the traffickers.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
And please strike that from the record.
That Mr. Pennington's last statement will be stricken from the record. You are not to give that any consideration.
Why wasn't these Facebook records documented into my case in the police reports?
It is not directly related to the case.
That's your...
My professional opinion, there's no information that was specifically she was giving me or providing or asking that was directly related to the facts of the case.
Right, but you're tampering with a witness.
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
So you say that it's not a part of the investigation. Is Kimberly Dickinson a part of the investigation?
I listed her as a witness at one point, yes.
Right, and when you're talking and having these conversations with her, she's a defense witness.
Objection. Speculation.
It's not speculation,
Overruled.
it's a fact.
You can ask the question. Go ahead. You may answer.
Was she a defense witness?
Right, were you aware?
Not to my knowledge.
So did you ever have a conversation with DCA Kaylee Jenkins about Kimberly Dickinson?
Being a defense witness?
Correct.
No. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Have you ever contacted Ms. Kaylee Jenkins and notified her that my investigator had contacted Kimberly Dickinson, your witness?
Yes. That doesn't
Okay.
mean she's a defense witness. That's part of the court process.
Right.
Just letting her know that it happened.
So Kaylee Jenkins did not inform you she's no longer a state witness, she's a defense witness?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. And can we go on the headsets because Mr. Pennington is clearly misstating the law at this point.
We're going to, I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a 15-minute break that I hope will be the last break of the afternoon. I know we're going to 4:15 today, but that should take us a little past 3. And I think it's probably a good time for that. So I will see you back here in about 15 minutes. Folks, please do remember your admonition. I look forward to seeing you after the break. Okay. You may be seated. Thank you. And again, Ms. Decoufle, you're welcome to stay here, or you can go in the back or take the time to take a break, whichever one you prefer.
Thank you.
Ms. Jenkins?
Your Honor, first of all, to quote my statements to the witness, that's clearly hearsay if he's attempting to prove the truth of the matter asserted. And further, Your Honor, there is case law that I am pulling up right now that in the state of Arizona, it is clear that the law does not distinguish between a state witness or a defense witness. They are all just witnesses. And so to imply to the jury that it's improper for her to have contact with somebody who's either a state witness or a defense witness is an improper statement of the law. And I do not want the jury believing that that's an improper thing to do because that the law is very clear on that. And I can pull up that case site.
I'm not sure that there's that implication quite yet. Might get to that point, but I'm not sure based on what we've heard so far that implication is there.
Okay.
All right. I think the larger issue is just, again, the continued misunderstanding of the hearsay rules. Being very very understanding of the fact that you are not an attorney, and I will do my best to continue to be. But I really need you to be focusing on what hearsay is and isn't, what you can't say about other people's statements that aren't here in court, that weren't made in court, and the like. So if you want to take the next few minutes to have Mr. Molina give you a crash course in hearsay, I would encourage you to do that. But I am getting very concerned about that. It is causing what I'm viewing here as significant delays in our trial. I don't want that to be the cause of delays. So please take the time to really understand those, at least the basics. I'm not suggesting you can master those. I don't know that anybody can master those. I think the attorneys would agree with me on that. But at least the basics I do expect you to have a better sense of when we come back, okay? All right. Folks, we'll take that break. We'll come back here in about 10 minutes. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll wait for our court reporter, obviously, to return before we get started. Are they all back? All right, we're back on the record in CR 2021-001294-001, State of Arizona. I'm sorry, I should have waited here. Okay. State of Arizona versus Jamaal Pennington. Court notes the presence of counsel. Mr. Pennington is here, our jury is not. And Ms. Decoufle is on the witness stand. Counsel, is there anything else that we need to address before we bring the jury back in?
No, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Okay. Do we have any sense in terms of timing here today? Are we going to be finishing with Ms. Decoufle here in the next hour or so?
Yes.
Okay.
I will have brief redirect, Your Honor, but it won't be very lengthy.
All right. Let's see where we're at. And I'm sorry, is it Ms. Herman? Is Ms. Herman the next witness today?
Yes, Detective Herman will be the next witness to testify if...
Apologies, Detective Herman. We'll talk about when that time comes, we'll talk about whether it makes sense to start with her testimony and how far we can get through that. Everyone's ready? All right, let's bring in the jury.
strike for the jury?
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. This is CR 2021-001294-001. Counsel is here. Mr. Pennington is here. Our jury is here. Mr. Pennington, are you ready to resume your cross-examination?
Yes, Judge.
All right. You may proceed.
In the beginning of our conversation, you said that in the conversation with Ms. Dickinson, you essentially needed to make, she essentially needed to make her own choice on interviewing, being interviewed.
Yes.
Okay. Why did you state absolutely do not in capital letters have to talk to them?
Judge.
So, Mr. Pennington, do you have a non-hearsay basis or an exception to permit that question?
So it's a prior inconsistent statement, Judge.
Inconsistent statement of the witness?
No.
The
Yes, the witness. Yeah.
All right. I don't know exactly what the statement is going to be. Any objection just to me looking at what is going to be asked?
No, Your Honor.
You can bring it up.
The first one in black.
This one.
Yes.
All right. I have reviewed the statement that is going to be asked about without objection to the parties. That is, in my opinion, not inconsistent with what the testimony was just a moment ago. So I'm going to sustain the objection. Go ahead.
You previously stated that is it true that you directed Kimberly Dickinson how to avoid a process server?
Objection,
Subpoena.
hearsay.
Overruled. Go ahead.
No,
No?
that's not true. Directed her how to avoid a process server? No.
Yes. Let's see. So you didn't tell Kimberly Dickinson she don't have to talk to or
Objection, hearsay.
I think you need to rephrase your question, Mr. Pennington.
let me find the statement, Judge. sorry. Excuse me. Have you ever discouraged Kimberly Dickinson to be interviewed or served with a subpoena?
I don't believe I've discouraged. I made sure she understood that it's her right. She could speak to them or she could not. She does not have to. People don't know the court system, and they think that they just have to participate in everything, and I want to make sure she knows it's her right. If she wants to, she can be a witness, she can participate, she can do whatever she wants, and if she doesn't have to. I think that's fair.
I thought you said it was her choice.
It is her choice.
Why are you advising her?
I mean, it's not advice. It's stating the facts. It's her choice. She can choose to talk to them, or she can choose not to, or she can choose to talk to them with a prosecutor present. Those are her choices.
Right.
I'm advising her of her rights.
Right. So you said that it was her choice to initially talk to him in the first place, right?
Well, I didn't know they were there until after the fact. So I
Right.
can't, I'm telling her when she was inquiring who it is, I'm explaining to her, explaining her rights as a witness, as a victim, whatever her rights are, is to choose to talk, to not to talk with the prosecutor present. Those are her rights. I explained those to her and told her she could make that choice.
Right. She can make the choices, but she already made the choice to talk to my lawyer and private investigator, and then you discouraged her, correct?
Objection argumentative.
I'll allow the question.
I don't know if she talked to them or not. She just told me that they showed up, and I asked her if they'd left a business card. I don't know. I didn't inquire.
You didn't know if they talked or not, or it's the first, FaceTime 3784?
Yeah, she said, I don't know if I'm allowed to say what she said.
No, the documents are not in evidence right now. If what you're asking, Ms. Decoufle, is to take an opportunity of the document there to refresh your recollection, then you can certainly ask if that's something that would help. But the document is not in evidence, so I can't have anybody read from it.
Take your time.
Could you re-ask the question, please?
Yes, you had previously said that you didn't know that my private investigator and attorney had reached out to her first, that she already talked to them before she told you.
When she reached out, she told me that they showed up. She was unclear, and she was looking for advice on what to do.
Clarification who they were?
Correct.
Right. So, and then you told her who they were, and it was her choice to talk to them in the first place.
Anytime.
She just needs clarification on who they were. So why are you telling her, you do not have to talk to them?
Overruled. Go ahead.
I'm explaining to her she was unclear. She's asking who they are. I tell her, this is who they are. These are your rights. You do not have to talk to them if you do not want to. That is your choice.
Why do you have to go to that extent? She just wants clarification of who they are.
Objection argumentative.
Mr. Pennington, you do have to ask questions at this time.
Yeah, it's a simple question. Why are you discouraging Kimberly Dickinson to talk to someone who she initially gave information to willingly?
I don't believe I'm discouraging her. I'm informing her of her rights.
Yeah.
She sent a message making more comments than just who are they? That was part of it. She went into other things. I told her who they were and what her rights were. What she does with that from there. I did not ask her. I don't know what.
Discourage her is not saying they are shady like the traffickers.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustained.
And please strike that from the record.
Motion granted. Folks, please disregard Mr. Pennington's last statement.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, thank you. Is there any redirect from the state?
Just a minute, Your Honor. Thank you. Did Ms. Kimberly Dickinson have anything to do with the investigation into Jamaal Pennington regarding acts that occurred with Aaliyah Barganier?
No.
I have nothing else. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from our jury? We have one. In the back.